Welcome to the Investor Agent Podcast. I'm Steve Seymour, your host, where we help transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth, one conversation at a time. Investors Agent Podcast. Today we have Janel Loughin on. Janel, thanks for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Janel, tell us all about you and how you got into real estate. What had you get into this crazy world of real estate?
I had a baby and I was really bored staying at home. So then I thought if I could get some income from selling houses, which I thought was so easy and fun, I thought it'd be fun to go look at houses. So I went and started showing houses. In my first 6 months, I think I sold like 10 houses. And I was like, oh, I get down with this. This is awesome.
It's a lot of houses for 6 months in.
I know. Well,
what do you attribute that to?
My big mouth.
Your big mouth?
Yeah, like I'm a people person.
Just telling everyone and anyone?
Anyone. Or I'd be like, oh, you're looking for houses? Like, I feel bad for your ex-realtor. I'm your new realtor now.
Is that how you build it? All word of mouth?
Yes.
Just talking?
Yes. Or like I was like a savage.
Was it your network and friends group, or you're just out on the street talking to people,
my
door
network,
knocking?
I'm not on the street.
I don't know. I did a lot of door knocking. You know?
Oh, no, I didn't. No, so I'm from Pottstown.
Okay.
And then I know a lot of people in Pottstown, and I have no shame. So I'm really good at calling people I know. So I could call my neighbor and be like, hey, who do you know that's going to move? And I would just wait. And then if I heard they're like, oh, Susan down the street's going to sell, I would figure out her phone number, call her. Like I was like a little savage back then.
That's great, though. It's very aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't even sell a house in their first 6 months, and you sold 10.
I did. Well, everybody was making fun of me, and they were like, oh, just what we need, another realtor. And this is back in 2014. And then I also was married at the time. We were like 25 grand in credit card debt. And I'm like, how are we going to get out of this? So I was very motivated to pay that off and then pay for a vacation. That's what I was looking to do.
Yeah. Well, that's some motivation.
Yeah. So then I had my second daughter and sold like 35 houses that year. My quality of life was horrendous because I was like primarily all buyer heavy. So then,
And this is just you solo.
Me solo.
No assistant.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you scaled up really quick.
I did. But when people say that to me, I always like to say like it wasn't on purpose. It was because I had to.
Yeah.
So before you came
in
here,
realistically, 3 houses a month is not crazy. But
it wasn't.
But in the world of what most people do,
yeah.
I mean, 36 in a year, right? That's about 3.
Right. I remember like
35.
if I had like, I think like 12 pendings in 1 month at one time. And then I was pregnant again and sick and taking care of a 1-year-old. It was crazy. So then I grew a sales team. And when people asked me about that, I didn't have that aspiration. It was like out of like sheer necessity.
Got it.
Because then I was like, all right, well, like how much time am I spending doing all the paperwork, which I don't like to do and I'm not good at? How much do I have to make, or how many houses could I sell to pay the person to do that, right? So then that was my first move.
Started thinking like a business owner.
I did, and then I get carried away with everything I do. So
before we go any further, I just want to pull back and find out what is the drive behind that, right? Because you have to be very driven to get those kind of results in such a short period of time in this industry. Have you ever identified what really drives Janel?
No, and people ask me that all the time. It's
Is it the need? Do you like to win?
I do like to win, but I feel like it's changed for me. So like then it was like I had something to prove because everybody was like, oh, like what are you gonna do? You don't even know what you're doing. And then it morphed into like, oh, I want to make this money because then I can do these things with this money. Mm-hmm. Then my marriage was imploding. So then like I always say shit got real quick because it went from fun money to like, can I afford
make it happen?
Yeah, my house, health insurance, my car, all by myself. So then I was like, oh, this just got serious very quickly. Yeah.
So, I mean, fear can be a great motivator.
Yeah. I respond better to like fear and pain.
Yeah. Like
it's got to like hurt or I got to like get through something. And then I'm very motivated.
And that's hard once you start getting a little comfortable.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like almost you have to create some sort of.
Yeah. Then there's a new game.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
I mean, it could be the other side of that, right? Like what's possible and the lifestyle and that could drive you. But it seems like the things that make you take action is like the opposite of that. And I'm that way too. And I try to leverage fear.
You told me 2 months ago when I was here that I wouldn't get like a content person. And I went and did it like the next day. I was like, don't you tell me I'm not going to do that.
And I did that intentionally because I wanted to help you.
Thank you.
And look, we're shooting content here.
I know.
Well, thanks for sharing that because a lot of people have no idea what drives them. But it's good to look at it and know what gets you off the couch to make moves.
Yeah. I just like now I like business. I love real estate. I like being in business with good people. I like to have fun, right? So it's just all like a big fun game to me.
So that's shifted from the fear to more like having fun and
yes.
What fuels you?
Yeah, well and back then, so I built the sales team, was doing that. And then once my divorce was final in 2017, I was like, what happens if somebody can buy a house like online? What happens if like I get hurt and can't work? So I was like, I need to figure out some type of like base, right? So that at least my bills are paid. And that's when I picked up my first investment property. And then I got into that world, got bit by that bug. And then that became the whole new game. In addition to selling houses, because I still had bills to pay.
And running a team, which is a whole business on its own.
So much work, so many feelings.
All right, so now fast forward, tell us like kind of all the different verticals today.
So today we still have the sales team, which is awesome. We opened our own title company for the sales team. We wholesale, we flip houses, and I have investment properties. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had management.
Oh, and we have a property management company too.
And do you just manage in-house or do you manage other people's properties
We manage we're, how do I say this? Selective. Yeah.
Which is smart. Because managing other people's properties can be a nightmare.
Well, and I had no intention to do that either, but I had such bad management. If anybody wants to know who it was.
No, we're not going to slander anyone.
I know,
here.
I'm not going to do it out loud. But then I knew that I was going to keep growing my investments, so somebody's got to manage it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So then that's a whole other business we had to
just out of necessity.
Right.
Yep, we're in the same boat right now. Not fun.
No. So what are you doing?
I don't know. We're stumbling.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, no, we manage basically in-house, but we leveraged our administrative in different areas, right? In different aspects of business, because as a small business owner, it's
like
sometimes hard to hire for every single position you need. Right. But when you have multiple businesses, sometimes you can overlay that one person in a specific role over everything. How
many units do you have?
It's not crazy. It's like 44.
Okay. Yeah. It's enough to keep you busy.
Yeah. And that's 7 Airbnbs. So 7 Airbnbs.
Oh, that's like a whole nother level of hell.
And we have a virtual assistant in El Salvador. But
is that working?
I'm supposed to be interviewing you. So thanks for flipping it around.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it works. It does work.
I have 2 Airbnbs and I feel like the amount of work that is considerable.
Yeah. It's like double.
Yeah.
Maybe triple. Yeah.
So I have one at the beach that's relatively easy. And then the one in the Poconos is like, there's always something. And that's a lot of work.
And we'll talk about that offline because I might be able to help you with that.
Okay.
Going back to where you're at now, I don't want to sneeze or I don't want to just glaze over your sales team because your sales team is a top sales team.
According to?
According to sales volume in the area
and
what typically a sales team looks like.
I am very lucky. They're
so
very
can
awesome.
you share transaction count? I know you've kind of trimmed the fat, so to speak, on the team, but transaction volume and averages, and you can estimate, we're not going to hold you to this because I didn't give you time to prepare for it. But the main thing I want to highlight is the average transaction per agent is very high compared to most. You deal with high producing people.
So I've tried it.
You don't like the tire kickers.
Every way. It's not even that. I feel like I know myself, and when people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I want to be on your team," and they're new, like, dude, I'm not. I go way too fast. I hate details. I'm not gonna slow down to be able to help you. So if you join me, I'm gonna end up doing you a disservice because you're gonna be frustrated. You're not gonna get the time and the hand holding. But I've had to learn that the hard way. Then I was really into like the producers who all had side businesses, who really didn't all want to sell real estate. It was like a hobby. And that wasn't helping. That wasn't working for me. So now I'm hyper focused on finding people who just want to sell real estate, a lot of it, and love doing it.
That's perfect. Right? That's clarity. It delivers, when you say it. So it's true that you mean it.
Oh, yeah, because I've failed forward tremendously. And then what people don't realize is like when you're burning it down and things aren't working, guess who gets the job back?
Yeah.
And I have my 2 little girls, and my number one priority is like being a mom, staying with them. That's what we were talking about before you came in here. It's a whole different thing when you have to be the mom and have the kids and then do all the mom things at home and then work on top of it.
Super mom.
Yeah. I don't know about super mom.
Super mom entrepreneur.
Leverage mom. So I will, so I've had somebody do my laundry. It was like ahead of the trend since I don't know, 2015. So I'm awful at it. I can't keep up with it. All those people that like do it like every day or every couple of days, not me. So I've had the same lady. She's amazing. She's my nanny. She still comes, does all my laundry every Monday. For some reason with our summer schedule, she was just off for a month. You should have seen the laundry. And my girls, I'm like, this is a good learning experience. What's mommy not good at? I'm like, let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. So I could choose to try to get better at this or figure out how to make money to pay somebody else to do it. Cause I'm like, and they're like, it's so much laundry, mom. I'm like, I know.
So folding clothes isn't your strength.
No.
What is your strength? What is your unique strength that Janel has?
Like in like business world,
Yeah.
I'm a really good relationship builder, super connector. I like to be like, oh, like you don't know George, you should know George. You'll see why, right?
Yep.
And like, there's no gain for me there. It's just I like to put people together where
The go giver, like that kind of. I mean, I've read that book so long ago, but I think that's the concept.
Yeah, I never read it, but
Just giving and connecting.
Yeah, and I think it's fun, and I like to see when people get into business together or get in relationships together. I'm also a very good cook, and I like to cook.
That doesn't help your business.
I know, but everybody's shocked by that. Like they're like, you cook, you do all this, and it's like, yeah, like that's like probably like my hobby.
I'll be the judge of that. You have to cook for us next time you come.
Okay.
So how did you learn to leverage and double down on your unique strengths and delegate to other people? Because that's something that you wouldn't have gotten to your level of success if you didn't start doing that. And maybe it wasn't intentional, but most people have no idea what they're really good at, even if they think they do. And if they just doubled down on what they were good at and delegated to other things, they would be so much further, right?
Yeah, that's what I've done. I feel like it was kind of dumb luck, but then too, I put it out there to people. Like I was telling everybody like, hey, I really need like a person. And I had an admin, she was great. But I'm like, I need next level, like director of operations, somebody who's going to push me, challenge me, just a little bit better. And once I got that person in my life, and then I'm told I'm a really good non-micromanager. Like if I give you something, you're going to know that it's removed from my brain. I'm never circling back. And I would like say to people like, no, I'm leaving this in your hands. Like, so like, if you don't do it, it's not getting done. I'm not going to come back with a checklist. So then if people don't level up and take responsibility and do what needs to be done, it's an easy exit for them.
Yeah.
Because that didn't get done. That was your job. I do it to my mom. My mom's like, you really should do this at the house. And I'm like, well, why don't you call and get estimates? And I'm like, it sounds like you're giving me the job back. And so that's like our new thing now, where my mother will be like, oh, you don't want the job back? All right, I'll figure it out. Why the guy's overcharging you. So
hearing all that, and in my experience, I love that. The downside that I've found is clearly displaying expectations up front through communication in a way that everyone understands. Because
yes.
we think a certain way, and then our best way to communicate that to someone else is through our language. Have you had any issues with communicating expectations, setting clear expectations? Any tips around that?
Yes.
This is selfish. I want to know.
Again, it's dumb luck because, I learned that the hard way where I'm like, no, this is your job. Do all the things.
Right, but how should they know what you want?
Right. So
how should they know exactly
I hired
how you want it done,
the director,
when you want it done.
The director of operations who is like, this is what your first day looks like.
Yeah.
Here's what your second day. Here's our expectations after 30 days, after 60 days. And like, going through and having her put that together, even reviewing it was painful because that's not, it's not my thing. Like I want to go, but I did learn that the very hard way where I'm not the best communicator because I'm just like, yeah, do it. And then most people need to hear it how many times to really get it?
Well,
I want to say one time.
They want to do it right. They want to.
Oh, I can't with the details. Yeah. I can't. It's so painful for me. Like every personality assessment I've ever taken is like my need to know is negative because I just want to go.
You just want results.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
Yeah. We can relate.
Right. Same way. Yeah. I
don't really care how it gets done or when. Well, I do care about when. It's like when and is it done?
Right. Exactly.
Yep. All right. We want to shift the focus.
Okay.
I want to shift the focus.
It's got very serious.
The intention of the podcast is to transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth, one conversation at a time.
Okay.
So that's the intention. And I think everything comes from intention. With anyone that's listening, you've obviously gone through some challenges with, the divorce and the, just starting off being an entrepreneur
businesses.
And feeling the scarcity and lack.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you just to share a little bit about your mindset, where it was, where it is now. How did it shift? Has it shifted? Do you still deal with that? Is it something that's an ongoing thing? Because my thing is fear stops people, and it takes courage for them to transcend that. So the best way they can learn through our conversation is, how did you go from that scarcity and lack, which is fear, essentially, to abundance and wealth, which to me is love, faith, whatever you want to call it, believing in yourself. How did that, can you put yourself back into that mindset of what that real...
Dude, I didn't have, like, I'm thinking in the beginning, I didn't have the option. Like, there was no, I'm a big believer of, like, burn the boats, like, this is it. But then, too, I always look at other people doing it, and I'm like, well, if they can do it, we live in the information age, right? Like, if they can do it, there's enough resources out there where I can learn, so the only thing that's stopping me is me. And, like, I have a good work ethic. I was raised to work. I grew up in the restaurant business. So it's like, I don't know, as long as you're willing to do the work, but most people just aren't. That's what stops them. Or they need to know. I don't need to know either. Like, my biggest project was the burnt down 45 unit. And I put that under contract. My mother, again, was like, Janel, you don't know how to build. What are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I don't know anything about building.
So I guess tap into what sets you apart to take the courage to do something like that versus someone that wants to.
Because everybody says I'm super risky. I always immediately go to what's the worst thing that's going to happen. And if I'm okay with that outcome, then it's a let's go. And then for a while, like I just turned 42. But for a while, I'm like, I'm so young. Like, I got time, right? Like, if I mess it up, let's go. When COVID first hit.
It's funny. I thought very similar too.
Really?
Like, I could start all over if I had to.
Like if I had to. Or I could always go work. Like, I'm like, COVID hit.
Yeah.
My mom was like losing sleep. She's like, what are you going to do if everybody stops paying rent? Because a lot of my properties are like waitresses, like people who have those jobs. And I'm like, I don't know, I guess lose all my buildings and start again. Like,
Yeah, and you have nothing to lose if you don't do it, because then you're going to be waitressing anyway.
Exactly. When I always come back to that, like I could always work. If I need to make money, I'm going to figure out how to do it. It's just I prefer to do it in the way that I enjoy.
That's great.
And gives me the time with my girls. Like this whole summer, everybody's always like, why are you so tan? I'm like, because I go to the pool with my girls. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We travel every other weekend. Like, I don't know, I want to spend that. Well, I'm not getting that time back. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's no right or wrong answers. It's more sharing your mindset, right? It's just a facilitation of a conversation through a question. What do you think is the biggest thing that most people that you see, like they let it get in the way from them taking action and actually starting investing? Because it's just like going to the gym. Getting started is the hardest part.
Right. I feel like analysis by paralysis is probably the number one thing where everybody overthinks it. I've scooped up deals where somebody else got to first, and while they were thinking about it, I'm on it. Like, I'll just go. So I think overthinking things and then not being ready. Like, I remember being at my first auction, and I was so scared. I didn't own any property yet, and I like stopped bidding even though I should have kept going, but I got scared. And I was like, oh, I don't know, where am I going to get the money? But I just feel like, I don't know, make the plan and go. And then you have to be okay with if it doesn't work out.
And do you worry about getting the money now?
Do I worry for our deals?
Yeah.
No, the money is the easy part.
Right.
That's a joke. Yeah.
But that's the biggest excuse you get from most people.
Yeah. No,
once I save up, then I'll invest.
I've never saved.
Once I got to pay off this credit card. Right. I got to pay off this student debt. Yeah. I mean, that's what I hear at least.
No, you're right. I talked to somebody yesterday who said like, yeah, if I had money. And I'm like, I bought my first property. I didn't have any money. I was going through divorce. I was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And I was like, let's go. Like, yeah, I don't understand that.
It almost doesn't, resonate in our minds, but at the same time, someone listening to this that has that excuse, this doesn't resonate in their mind. So it's like, how do we connect the dots? And to us, it's the thought process. We can see how to raise capital. It's just, it's second nature once you do it a bunch of times and then you see other people doing it. So I think it's like monkey see, monkey do. So how did you raise capital on some of your first deals?
So my first deal, that's a good story.
Like break it down.
Yeah, my first deal. So I got a Zillow lead, Vishal Patel, if he ever watches this. And he's young guy, lives in the area, but he wants to flip houses. So I'm like, okay, like I'll send you some houses. Here's some, check these out. He's like, no, I don't think you understand. He's like, you find the house, you send me the contract, tell me how much money we need. And he's like, you know what? We'll be partners. He's like, you find the house, you do all the work, I'll put up all the money. What's my downside? Let's go.
Yeah.
So that's how we started. And then he was jammed up. I forget what happened. He bought like a Dunkin' Donuts, or he was always moving and shaking. And come time to like buy the house, he's like, oh, I don't know if I have that money or I'll have it then. And I'm like, what? You're the money guy. That's your job. So I ended up reaching out to somebody I had met, and I'm like, who's your hard money lender? He's like, I'm a hard money lender. I'm like, what? And I'm like, can I borrow some money? He's like, yeah, no problem. Here's how it works.
Even though he didn't have the money for the deal.
Huh? Well, I reached out. Yeah. So my money guy didn't have any money.
Yeah,
I reached out to a hard money lender.
Okay. So
the money guy did nothing. Yeah. That's another like,
okay.
I was partners with him. So we did that one. We did the classic, like, buy it for 68. We put 40 into it, refinance it. We both made like 15 grand. Everybody got all their money back. Cash flow next. And we were in that space for a while. I think we were up to like 50 units together. And then that's when I was supposed to be managing them. Complete shit show. Like all the wheels were coming off because I'm trying to run the sales team.
Yeah, it's too much.
Way too much. And that's when I realized I need a property manager. But then during that time, COVID hit. We knew that we weren't working well together. And I just went to him and had the hard conversation where I'm like, but at that point too, he was done with money. Like he never had any money because he was doing other things. So I'm like, I love you a lot, but I'm finding the deals. Funding them.
Running
them. Giving you half. Like, what do you want to do? He's like, yeah, no, you're right. He's like, buy me out.
But that's okay though, because it got you to where you were.
I'm forever grateful.
Built that muscle.
And he's the one who said to me back then, like, what do you need, money? He was like, we can get money from anywhere. And I was like, what? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he changed my brain.
So if that's your excuse.
Yeah, that is not
not an excuse. Same story
right?
I've heard a million times.
Yeah.
And I've heard this story hundreds of times where, the money will find, if you find the deal, the money it'll follow. You could go either way too and raise capital first, and then the deals will follow.
Yeah, I'm not wired that way.
It just depends.
It's always the deal and I don't have enough money, and then I'm like, oh man, and then I got to scramble and figure it out. Yeah.
Chicken or the egg.
Yep.
All right, Janel. So tell us a few things that have been life-changing for you.
Life-changing?
I don't usually ask these questions. I don't usually go this deep.
I hate how serious and deep you are. Life-changing is definitely, just real estate, really. I mean, the money I made from selling houses and that career allowed me to be able to leave my marriage that I didn't want to be in. And I know most people do not have that luxury. I feel horrible for especially stay-at-home moms who just don't have the option.
Feel stuck, right?
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to leave and be broke and then have to go to work and not be with your kids or stay, right? So definitely getting into the sales game for sure. And then I would say the investments were another huge thing for me, because my whole plan was always make enough that I could live and be okay. And now I believe like my kids and possibly their kids are going to be okay.
So creating generational wealth. And then
yes.
How has that shifted your life and just how you feel about, I don't want to say if you're proud, because some people don't like that word, but
I don't feel anything.
Nothing.
Nothing. It's never enough. It's never anything. It's what's next. It's a new game. Let's go. Yeah. No.
Well, thanks for sharing that, because that's true for most investors that I talk to. It's like their mindset really doesn't shift. The scarcity and lack never goes away completely, but it changes over time. I mean, and I don't want to say it never goes away, but it's human nature to want to get to that next level and do something bigger and see more potential. No,
I keep saying I'm really going to stop moving the goalpost. Like I'm done with that. We're just gonna sit.
Good luck.
It's been like a week.
I was going to say, I'll give you a couple weeks.
I'm just going to sit.
Then you're going to be setting some bigger goals.
I know, that's what happens. But I enjoy what I do, so it makes it really easy.
Yeah. And you have a nice lifestyle with some flexibility.
Do, yes.
I know you still work, but you have some support systems in place that give you some freedom.
I do, and I feel like it's important for everybody to know, especially the whole I'm going to build a real estate team. Like it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and it took me years. So I tell people I usually don't work like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. People are like, "You're so lucky." I'm like, no, I grind it for years and worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably for 5 years, and I do all the open houses I could, and I worked for it. So I invested my time then, so I could get my time back now. And
with running a team, you're in a leadership role. talk about some of the pitfalls of that, because I know for myself, it's not always easy to keep the vision alive, to keep people motivated.
So I don't know about you, but what I've learned about myself is my leadership style. I was always like, my leadership style sucks. If you're not self-motivated, I'm not a good leader for you. Like, I am looking for people who are hungry, humble, got something to prove, and want to make money. Like, especially like single moms, like you have to need, and you have to like it. So if I have to call you, I don't have accountability. I'm not like, hey, let's go over your pipeline and like, what are the goals? Like, you should have your own goals. I have 2 kids, and I'm always like, I'm not going to circle back with people who work with me to be like, did you make your calls?
Why does that leadership suck?
Oh, I used to say my leadership style sucks, and my coach was like, oh, it doesn't suck. It's just, this is how you are. You're not good with and I can't understand people. Like, we can make as much money as possible given how hard you work, right? And then there's people who complain.
But isn't that so true to your nature? And that's why that's your style. So that's authentic leadership.
Yes. Well, I've learned that now.
Right.
Before, I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I'm not good at this. But
I would say that's the epitome of leadership, is being exactly who you are and then attracting people that see
that buy in.
Yeah, they see it.
Right. Yeah, but I had to learn that. I didn't know that.
Because the opposite is fitting into someone else's form of leadership, which is not leadership. Yeah. That's following a pathway.
Well, where were you 5 years
ago? I'm figuring this out too. It's not easy.
All right. Yeah, because I used to try to do...
I've never thought of myself as a leader until it's just like it happened, right?
Don't you own the brokerage here?
I do, but I'm actually introverted. I hate social media.
I know. I think you're
podcasts.
You're a strange guy.
Don't want anyone knowing what I'm doing or where I'm at. Or,
Now you got to put it out there. That's what I was saying that earlier too. I hate doing stuff. I've never done a podcast. I get asked, I'm like, no. But then I feel like if I can say something that helps someone, especially like the mom that's struggling and needs a little push.
It's your obligation.
Yes, my duty. So
you have to do it.
Fine, I'm here. You're welcome.
Tell us a little bit about your portfolio. I know you've done some big deals, especially for being in a short period of time. You did the burned out building. Was it 40 some units?
45. That was the biggest one. What do you want to know?
Well, how you bought it for 900 or something?
Bought it for 900.
And what did you guys put in?
We were all in at close to 6. I'll say.
$6 million.
$6 million.
What did it appraise for?
10.5.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. But we also had an offer, and I have a partner on that. If he ever sees this, he'll kill me. But we had an offer for even more.
Yeah.
And he wanted to sell, and I didn't.
Long term, you made the right decision.
Exactly.
The short term, you made the wrong decision.
Yeah. But I buy different things, different properties for different reasons. So
you created approximately $4 million in equity on one transaction.
Correct.
Right. And I know that's not all yours, but how long did that project take?
Start to finish, less than 2 years.
Yeah. And how long do you think the average person would have to work to save up $4 million?
I don't know. A long time, right?
Or $2 million if you're splitting it.
Yeah.
It's really long.
It is really long.
That's life changing.
Right.
That's generational changing.
Right.
Because that'll compound over time. Mm-hmm. Not that 2 million is going to change a generation, but.
No, but I look at it, especially with that piece when he wanted to sell. And trust me, like I was, if we would have agreed to sell, we both would have walked to like 3 million based on the offer we had. So he's like, let's roll, right? Let's sell it.
Yeah.
And then I just thought about like, hey, if I keep it, even if I don't cash flow, and it cash flows, it's an awesome project. Cash flows, it's great. But even if I didn't, and it sat there, and my tenants are going to pay down my mortgage, so in 25 years, my girls are going to get a paid for 45-unit building.
It's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like,
definitely gives some security.
Yeah.
When you bring deals together like that and there's partnerships, it's never like 50-50. It's just not how it is, even if it is on paper, right? Because people bring different things to the table. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it has to be 50-50 in terms of exact percentages of you bring this and I bring this or whatever. My question is, looking back on that deal, what was the value you brought to it?
I brought the deal.
You brought the deal.
Yeah. And that was somebody I wanted to get into business with. And he's moving and has a ton of units. And he said, well, bring a deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
And he executed on the rest of it?
So that was, in my opinion, my best partnership because we weren't friends. Mm-hmm. We weren't buddies. So there was no like, oh, okay, no big deal. We were both very serious, like a 30-page operating agreement, and our roles were clearly defined. So he was going to be in charge of the construction. I was going to deal with all the leasing, the township stuff, and like I was more local than him. So if we needed boots on the ground, that was me. But we pretty much divide it. Mm-hmm. And then during construction, he was in it. Yeah. And I'm just like, well, that's your job.
Right.
And then we were having trouble. I shouldn't say trouble. Leasing was going slower than we wanted it to go. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? He was like, figure it out because it's your job. And I was like, ooh. I was like, he's right. Right. So that was really good. I would say if you're going to go into a partnership, just make sure everything's spelled out. Like we had, if this, then this, or if this, then what. One of the smartest things I did on that one was reserve the right to decide if we sold or not. It was my call.
So do you think someone's more likely to hit a $2 million lottery ticket or to be able to get focused, find a deal, bring it to a developer?
Focused, find the deal for sure. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about that, just what she did, and I know it's overly simplified.
It was pretty simple though.
Brought a deal,
right?
Found a developer, put it together, and then you guys divided and conquered. Well,
that was the beauty too. It wasn't even, we didn't have to develop. We just had to build. There was no it was already approved. Yeah, it was. So it was a really, really, really good deal.
So there's a ton of value in bringing the deals.
Right. Yeah. So if you don't have any money.
If someone brought you a great deal,
yes.
Would you not help them?
Absolutely. Exactly. People all the time are like, I want to be your partner. And I'm like, awesome.
Bring some value.
Yeah.
You got money.
Bring a deal.
You got time or bring a deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all that because I think that can help people see that this is real to be able to create wealth.
I feel like I'm being on best behavior today, so you're welcome.
It's all right. I don't think you cursed at all.
I know, I'm doing so good.
If you need to get one out, go ahead.
No, I'm fine. We're fine.
Do you recommend any seminars, books, mentors? What do you think looking back that if you were like, man, if I had done this, I would have been much further, faster?
That's a good question. I did like the Tony Robbins stuff. That was cool.
UPW or what?
Yeah, I did UPW and then I did the business mastery. I thought that was powerful.
And business mastery is an investment. That's like 10 grand or something.
I think it was like 5,000. Yeah, it was a lot of money. Okay. I was like, this better work. Right.
So you invest in yourself.
I do. I have a coach that I credit. Like he's changed my life because he's tough. And I've only made him laugh like twice in 4 years. Very serious. You would like him. You guys would hit it off. Very serious. But yeah, I got a coach. He's not cheap. And then finding the right mentors. Like I went from when I went to sell a lot of houses, I took people out that sold a lot of houses and talked to them. And then when I wanted to buy investments, I hung around the people that were buying investments.
So you're telling me you figured out what you wanted to do and you found people who were doing it?
Yeah.
And then surrounded yourself with them?
That's exactly
I've never heard that before.
Exactly what I did. But I think if you're not like overly people-y, then maybe that's not the move for you, but that's how I did it. It worked out.
I think that's the move for everyone.
Yeah?
Yeah. How do you learn how to walk?
Right.
I mean,
well, it's just
from seeing people walk.
Yeah. What do they say? Proximity is power. Right.
I don't know.
And then once I got into once I wanted multifamily, I started going to the multifamily stuff and learning about that and being around those people. So it's always submersing myself around in what I'm looking to do next.
What do you want to do next?
Dude, I just want to sit. I don't know. I'm in a really great spot right now. Knock on the wood. Because one of my business partners, Crystal, like we used to talk and be like, oh, this is awful. This is happening. Oh, what? Like there was always issues. And now when we talk, we're like, everything's going very well. This is weird. So I'm just in a really great spot everywhere. So I'd like to stay here for just a little while if I can.
Relish in it.
Yes. At least till end of summer.
Nothing wrong with that. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah.
Versus always, you said moving the goalpost.
Yeah, and it's always like next thing, right? Because we're like little dopamine junkies and we need the next challenge. And like people who hear my story are like, that's amazing. And I'm like, that came at a cost. Like there were times where like I thought I was going to like have a breakdown because there was so much at once, but I have a really, really great skill that's to my detriment where nobody ever, I can carry it all and I wear a smile and I am fun and you have no idea until like I have like a breakdown and like my daughters are there and they're like, why is mom crying?
Well, when you're doing a lot of things can go wrong at once.
Right.
And typically it's not one thing that's going to throw you off. It's the ripple effect when it's 3 things or 4 things or 5 things that are all happening and you're like, what in the world?
Exactly. Well, and you're talking about all these big numbers, right?
Right.
But I took all the money I had and borrowed money I didn't have to buy that building in February of 2021. And we refinanced it last week. So,
well, congrats on closing that.
That's a whole nother, we can talk about that for like an hour after this. But just that money's been sitting there with no return for that long. So when everybody's like, oh, look at all the things you do. And I'm like, well, I have to, because I'm not making any money off of that building yet.
Yeah.
So, but
it's get rich slow. But then once it pops, you're going to have some big hits.
Yeah, I feel like I'm right there right now. Just want to stay here.
All right. Well, I want to just acknowledge you for all that you've done.
Thank
you.
You
should acknowledge yourself. It's not a small thing that you've achieved, and you've helped other people along the way. And give a shout out to Crystal, because she's like your right-hand woman who has helped you scale up and done a lot. So
yeah, Crystal's super awesome.
It's good to feel some gratitude for the people around us. And, I think I want to be grateful for you for sharing your story and being vulnerable and being honest and real. And appreciate all that.
And on best behavior.
And good. Didn't curse too much. No. I don't think she did at all.
I know.
She was so worried that she's going to.
No, I told you I have no filter, so it was excellent today.
All right. Well, we appreciate that for the kids listening. Any last words of wisdom?
I don't think so. I say just do it. You don't always need to know before you go.
Yeah.
Find somebody else who's done it, what you want to do, go for it.
So how can Janel Loughin help the people out there listening? How can they work with you?
You can reach out to
team?
Me. Yeah. Google me. Loughin spelled weird.
You sell houses, right?
I do.
In the area?
I do. Like the Pottstown area.
I think a lot more than that.
Right.
Where do you cover?
Chester County, Berks County, Delaware County, Philadelphia, Montgomery County. We'll go to Jersey too. So all over.
And bring deals?
And bring deals. If you got a deal or if you need help, I'm happy to help anybody all the time.
You guys flip houses where?
We do. We like to stay in the Pottstown area, but I also say we're deal whores, so we'll go anywhere that there's a deal. But primarily Pottstown.
And you buy rentals?
We do. Yes.
Where do you buy rentals?
Primarily Pottstown.
Okay.
Yeah. Pottstown, Pennsylvania.
Theme here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to work with Janel, reach out to her. We'll make sure we post her info below, and leave a comment to see if you got any value from this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janel.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to the Investor Agent Podcast today. We hope you found it valuable. Please tune in weekly at theinvestoragents.com.